If you're like me, you thought, this guy's a one-hit wonder, we're never going to hear from him again. But imagine my surprise when, almost 40 years later, it turns out he gave us this, an amazing Rockwell razor that... I'm sorry, what? Oh, turns out it's a completely different Rockwell. Okay, so I'm glad we've got all the confusion about Rockwell out of the way. And I'm here to talk to you about this wonderful new razor from Rockwell Razors, the Rockwell 6C. Now you might have heard of the 6S, and they are similar, but the difference is the S version of this razor is made from stainless steel, and this is the C version or the chrome version. Because I was a Kickstarter campaign supporter, I was able to get this a little bit early. So I've been using this razor for about 2 weeks. I really wanted to put it through its paces. I didn't want to just do one shave and talk about it. But as I mentioned, I've done a number of different shaves with it. I've tried about 3 different blades, and now I'm ready to share the results. So we're going to take a look at 4 things. 1, what do you get in the box? 2, what do I have to say about the form and the finish of the razor? 3, the performance of the razor. And finally, 4, would I recommend it? So let's take a look at item number 1. What do you get in the box? 6C. Again, this is the Kickstarter version, so it's a little bit different, but I imagine the principles will be similar. 1, you get this little booklet, and it talks to you about how the plates work and the gaps. We're going to go into that a little bit more. But additionally, you get some sample of the Rockwell razor blades and the razor itself with the handle, your cap. Currently, I've got the plate with 1 and 3 on there, but additionally, you get those 2 extra plates. So here, you've got the plate for 2 and 4, and the plate for 5 and 6. We're going to take a closer look at these things as we look at the form and finish of the razor. So again, the packaging might vary a little bit, but basically that's the idea of what you're going to get once the Kickstarter supporters have received their razors. Now I'd like to move on to the second item, the form and the finish. To really help you appreciate that, I have these close-up look here in this video. Okay, taking a closer look at our second criteria, which is form and finish, here are the pieces of the razor laid out in front of us. We've got our cap plate, and one of the things I liked about the cap plate is that the posts are very nicely machined and sizable, so it makes it very easy to put your razor blade on there. We've got the handle, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. And then the most interesting thing about the Rockwell, which are these 3 plates. You've got plate 1, which covers 1, and as you flip it over, it goes to 3. You've got plate 2, and again, you can flip that over and it becomes plate 4. And finally, you have plate 5 and 6. And so what you get is you use these blades is that they become incrementally more efficient or aggressive depending on how you look at it. So here you have the 1 setting, and when you have that, your blade exposure is just 0.38 millimeters. So it's very safe, very mild shave, almost impossible to cut yourself. However, if you've got a little bit more growth, or maybe you've got a really coarse beard, you can dial it all the way up to plate 6, and there your blade gap is 1.12 millimeters. So there's a lot of flexibility in these ranges. Also, just a quick word, the Rockwell razor blades. Here, I did use them a number of times. It's a good blade, it's comfortable, sharpness, smoothness. Doesn't replace my favorite blade, which is a Persona, but it's certainly handy, and I found it good for about 4 or 5 shaves. So hopefully it gives you an idea of really the high quality finish, the chrome plating that went into this razor. That's something that really impressed me. Even in areas where maybe you don't always think they're going to be as careful, maybe underneath the cap or something like that, everything is finished very nicely. Now, in addition to the finish of the razor, which is very clean, I would like to talk about some of the functionality of the razor, which is that the handle is very interesting. It's slightly longer than a number of 3-piece razors that I've seen. Certainly a little bit longer than something like my Gillette Super Speed. But I really like that added length. I don't have particularly big hands, but I did find the handle very comfortable. Along with that, in regard to the handle, you might be able to see the knurling here, which you might have seen in the close-ups of the video, while not being exaggerated, is really very effective. I never worried about the security of the razor or dropping or slipping it, even with wet or soapy hands, so it's done very nicely. Third thing I'd like to mention about this razor is the weight. Now again, this is not the stainless steel version, which would of course be heavier, but even though this is just the chrome version, it really does have a nice heft to it. It doesn't feel like you're lugging something around, it doesn't feel too heavy, but it really feels like you've got a nice bit of mass there to work with. And so when you just lay it and start to do your shave, you can really let the weight of the razor do the work. Let's get on to that third item, performance. Here's some video of me doing a shave with the Rockwell 6C. I've got it on setting 5, which is typically the type of shave that I do each and every day. One of the things that I found with using the Rockwell was that it's an incredibly easy razor to use. The angle is easy to find, and that angle seems to be consistent really all the way plates 1 through 6, and it makes it very, very easy to use. So again, talking about the performance, as I mentioned, I use 3 different blades as I've been doing my shaves with this razor. I use the Rockwell blade, I use the Persona blue blade, which is my personal favorite, and I also use the Bolzano blade, which is known to be a little bit sharper. But I didn't have any problem with any of the blades. They were all very easy to use. And then finally, recently I had an opportunity to go out and do some trail running out in the desert. Had a great time, but typically when I'm doing that, I don't bother to shave. So after that, I had a couple days growth, and I decided to put in the number 6 plate, the most efficient, or some might say aggressive. Now, was I nervous about that? Not at all. I'd used the razor enough that I felt very confident that I would continue to get a nice blade angle and ease of use. And that's exactly what happened. So to me, the performance of this razor is outstanding. Which leads me finally to my 4th category, and you probably guessed by now, would I recommend it? Well, I really can't speak to value because I don't know what this razor is going to cost when it hits the market. It'll be less than the 6S, certainly because it is the chrome version. However, when I think about what you get, which is essentially an adjustable razor, which is going to be suitable for a beginner all the way up to an advanced wet shaver, or someone from a light beard to a more coarse beard, I would say that I wholeheartedly recommend the Rockwell, and anybody who picks it up is going to be very satisfied. I have to tell you, I was so surprised when I learned that Norman Rockwell, the famed illustrator for the Saturday Evening Post and other publications, produced an amazing razor like... What? That's not the right Rockwell either? Man, how many Rockwells are there? This is ridiculous.